The lesson is, if you're going to be a criminal, do your homework.
Wait, I'm not a bad guy.
I didn't say you're a bad guy. I said you're a criminal.
What's the difference?
I've known good criminals and bad cops, bad priests, honorable thieves. You can be on one side of the law or the other. But if you make a deal with somebody, you keep your word. You can go home today with your money and never do this again. But you took something that wasn't yours, and you sold it for a profit. You're now a criminal. Good one, bad one, that's up to you.
Hello and welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is QUACKCAST number 587. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Tanser and Baines. Hello.
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 And this week we're talking about villains, heroes who are actually villains. I think that's the thing. It's so hard to get this straight in my head, but it's it's heroes who are really villains. And Tanser's original idea was this wasn't about protagonists. This was just about, the villain in the story who happens to think they're a hero and then they realize they're a villain. But, I mean, we can expand that to protagonist characters, because there are some really notable ones. But before we get into that, let's bring up the featured comic. Featured comic this week was Space Pack. So I'm going to tell you about Space Pack. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Space Pack. Something eerie and weird is happening in Yarmo, Southern California. Some sort of strange creature is scaring the willies out of the locals. Meanwhile, 382.5 miles north in Liverlife, little Bally Williams is bored, because none of the boys can hang out with her and there's nothing on TV, but something weird has got all the dogs barking. This is a sci-fi comedy story comic set in the 90s in a suburban American world of late night TV, high school, diners, convenience stores, and homework. The art is bright and cartoony with cel-shaded style characters. The story is slow. It's a slow burn comedy mystery. It's slowly developing. Some have said Stranger Things vibe. I don't know, Goonies, anything like that. A bit of a strange thing happening in a retro American world of an earlier time. Not the 80s, like Stranger Things, but the 90s, like Space Pack. So there we are. It's a different thing. Anyway, I hope you like it. Give it a little bit of a read, and back to the QUACKCAST. And that was the featured comic, which was Space Pack. Okay, so after that, we're talking about the music Gummalus has given us. He's given us a theme to a comic called Cassie York in the Purple Nowhere, which is a very long title.
I love that title. It's neat.
That's cool.
It feels like a Beatles song.
Yeah.
From the latest period or something like that.
Yeah.
Cassie York in the Purple Nowhere, sitting on a hillside.
Cassie, you're in the purple nowhere. Cassie, you're in the purple nowhere. Too.
Sitting on a hillside, looking at a dead dog's eye. Yes. Anyway, all right. So Cassie York in the Purple Nowhere. It's a sophisticated, classy, adult, dancey, jazzy, mixed piece with some sharper, harder-edged rock. It's well-made, pretty. It's like a well-made, pretty dress sword with an extra hard edge, decorative and yet practical. So take it away, Gumwallers, with Cassie York in the Purple Nowhere. was the musical theme to Cassie York in The Purple Nowhere. Okay, so villains who are really heroes who are actually villains, or villains who think they're heroes who end up being villains. Tance, you can crystallize this for us.
Yeah, the idea isn't like it's the character design of a person, individual, that thinks that they are the hero of the story, in a sense, that they are the ones with the moral high ground. And all their actions are in that moral high ground. When objectively or in reality, they act, they behave in a villainous manner. So, in a villainous manner that escalates usually until they come to this critical point where they cannot rationalize it away anymore, and they have to sort of come to terms with it. Either they will lean into it and become self-aware, let's say, villains, or they will have to realize that they were wrong, and they have to then change their ways, in a sense, which usually leads to death, usually in stories, or it leads to a redemption arc, either or. So.
Oh, redemption arc. That's quite popular in a lot of more Japanese stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Villains who become heroes, who think they're heroes, but then become heroes. Because that's a rather a logical transition for them, really. Because if you think you're a hero, you may as well become a hero.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, usually you can tell that, okay, this character is going to have a redemption arc or die because the way that they act, at least on a cognitive level, is that of a hero, but their actions are dissonant with that. And they are, I don't know what that is. I'm so sorry.
Well, I thought that was from my house, from my yard.
What the hell is that? Anyway. So, okay, it is some
swan.
it is a kid, I think, with a weird wheel, but I have no idea what it is. Anyway.
A villainous child who thinks they're...
Yeah, exactly. So
they're...
thankfully they kept on going, and they're someone else's problem now. So yeah, and so their actions are dissonant, and they become more and more dissonant, while they are in a cognitive headspace of, I'm the good guy, I'm the one that saves the day, in a sense, and they are the ones that ruin the day. Yeah, so.
Yeah, exactly. The spoilers. It does make kind of a pleasing story arc when they do come to that realization, and they make the change, or they make the change one way or the other. They don't have to become good.
No,
it can be great when they realize what they are and they just lean into it, because then you can go, I can stop kind of feeling ambivalent about this hero and really hate them.
Yeah, or it generally, it starts a different arc. Like that arc is complete, and it starts a different arc, that of a villain, like that of a self-aware villain, so to speak. And usually they will go on a small speech of "You made me that way," which is very gaslighting and typical of villains. Like
you and I are the same.
Yeah, it's like or it's your fault I am the way I am.
Oh,
That's
that's
another.
so pitying when they do that. I can't stand that speech.
Yeah.
You created me.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Or it's like it's society's fault, which they might, and that actually is very interesting in the sense that they probably have a point
Hmm.
because we are products of our social environment. But it's not just that; it's that you made certain choices that uh, acted in a way with your environment to lead you in that path, and you did have a choice in the matter, and then your choice was to be a villain. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're a bad guy. I'm not.
mhm.
And there's also, I mean, it wasn't your original intent, but there's also protagonist characters. Um, we realize are villains. Like Scarface is a
Mhm.
classic one. I haven't seen the original with
Al Pacino.
no, the original with Cagney, I think James Cagney.
Oh,
That
I didn't know
was.
there was one.
Mm,
Okay.
there might even be one before that. Might even be older. But yeah, that's what's noted as like a really good kind of original. But yeah, the Al Pacino one I've seen, as most people have, and that's brilliant. And he starts off like as chief protagonist, and we sort of like him. He has to join the criminal gang in order to get ahead because he's a violent character, but he's good and he's just trying to make his way in the world. And then we see him on the rise as becoming a incredible villain, evil character. But we don't even realize he is an evil villain until a few kind of really morally evil kind of things that he does.
Mhm.
And I think he does actually realize that, oh my god, I am a villain when he's dealing with his Mexican cartel for his to get his drugs in, and that was the way he was succeeding. And they say, well, if you're going to be dealing with us, then you have to do some special things for us, and one of them is to kill this wife of a diplomat to the UN, and he's ordered to kill this person, but like she's got a child with her, this, or it might be like a whole family, and he
Mhm.
won't do it because he doesn't want to kill children. And I think that's the time when he realizes, hang on, I'm the villain now, and he like realizes, and that's when he sort of goes off the rails, and things start to collapse for him, that he can't really sustain that. He realizes that the totality of the evil. So yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Mhm.
Mm.
And that is entirely different from
Thanks, you bastard.
that's entirely different from an anti-hero because the anti-hero may be doing certain questionable, gray area things, but the anti-hero will not cross certain lines. Uh, Even if they come close, in the end, they will not cross certain lines. And like you could have certain main characters that, in my opinion, are generally villains, although they are framed as the anti-hero. I think that, like, take the Punisher, for example. Uh, from what I haven't really read up a lot on that, but the way that he acts, I think that he qualifies for a villain that believes they are at least heroic to a point.
Mm.
So,
Righteous.
yeah, the
Yeah.
righteous villain.
Yeah.
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 Or on the other hand, you have like a guy like Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and he totally, at least for 2/3, I think, of the story, even the entire story, he thinks that he is the hero of the story. Period. Like he is the Prince Charming of everything, and
Save the lady from a monster.
mhm,
Yeah.
exactly. Save the lady, like the damsel in distress. I'm gonna go save her. I'm gonna get the girl. Like the town treats him as a hero, and he. When does he really become a villain? Beyond the framing, when he schemes against Belle by trying to blackmail her with her father. That's the first time when he does seem to lean into villainy, and then he goes off the rails.
Mm,
I think, like that's my estimation.
yeah.
Okay. And he's noted as a famous villain to many people because of his ridiculous sexist ways.
Yeah, but they were the ideas of the time as well. I mean, I don't hold that against him in the sense that he he is really confused as to why the girl want him. It's like,
Yeah.
And I think now society's perspective on him has changed a lot because now he's the representative, the ultimate representative of the patriarchy in a lot of
yeah.
ways. That thoughtless sexism. Like, of course I should be respected. Of course you should love me.
Hmm.
And of course things should go my way. Of course I should be the hero.
Yeah, and I mean, objectively, until that point, he really does heroic things, and I mean, beyond being confused why she doesn't, marry him at the drop of a hat, without even having any sort of rapport or whatever. But beyond that, which you could chalk up to him being really fixed in this idea that he is the most eligible bachelor of the town, which he is. I mean, every other girl wants him. Okay. Um, he does heroic things. He brings home food. He has, protected the town from various things. Um, he has all of these trophies. He is the paragon of male, presentation, I guess. um, yeah, he in any other story, if he was framed differently, he would be the hero, and the beast would be the beast. Period.
Yes, yes, but this is a very, very specific story. So yes, it's done in
Hmm.
a very, very different way. It, it's done in such a way that the Beast should have been the villain, but he's not, because the Beast does start out quite villainous.
Yeah,
It's
he does pretty
redeemed.
villainous things.
Mm.
Holding someone against their will, being very verbally abusive, and all sorts of things that are villainous things. The difference in that is that he develops into something better, or at least we are shown that he develops into something better. Yeah.
um, One of my favorite things is Blackadder, and I
Mhm.
don't know if this really fits into it, but he does start out like as a kind of, at least the first series, as like kind of wimpy main protagonist character.
Yeah.
And
I think he's aware that he's a scoundrel.
but he isn't in the
And he,
beginning. He's not a scoundrel there.
well, in the first season.
Hmm.
Ah, okay.
In the first
Yeah.
episode of the first season. Then he
Okay,
wants
yes.
to be a villain. Then he goes, I will be the villain, sort of thing. That will be my role. So he makes that transition into a villain from being a protagonist, but not a hero. But it does sort of float in the seasons. He's like in the second season becomes classic villain. He's even got a goatee and he's all in black and He's often only black, but he's becomes a very classical villain.
Yeah.
That kind of villain. But
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
other seasons, he's not at all that kind of character. It's only the second season when he really is villainous. And like the third season, he's not.
In the third season, I think he just is one of those people that try to make the best for themselves, and they don't really have, like, their morals are questionable, but they really are trying to survive in a nasty court, in a sense. And in the fourth one, he just doesn't want to go fight.
Exactly. He's definitely not villainous in the fourth season at all.
He has elements. It's just that there are bigger villains than him there. Like everyone is a villain there, except maybe Baldric and
Captain, whatever his name is, Garling.
he has a ridiculous name. I don't remember right now. Like Hardwell. I'll find it now.
Oh, you mean the
One second.
general?
Not the. Oh no, I don't mean the general. The general was
General Melchett, I think.
Melchett, yes, and Love was his.
That's it.
But I'm talking about the pilot.
Oh, you mean the Flashheart character?
Yes, thank you. That's the guy, Flashheart.
Loved him.
Oh, he's awesome.
Well, and now he is a classic example of a character who thinks he's a hero but is actually a villain. And he really is a villain. He is horrible in every way, but he thinks he's a hero.
Yeah.
He thinks he's a classic hero, and that goes for both his appearances in the second season, when he's like a piratical kind of figure, and he nicks Blackadder's wife, well, to be his girlfriend or whatever, and that happens in his appearance in the Blackadder Goes Forth, when he again nicks the same woman who's going to be his betrothed. As a pilot, a classic heroic kind of figure with blonde hair and these beautiful coat and everything,
bravado and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And he is a villain, but he is the classic version of exactly what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, and you get a lot of versions. Like if you take like Javert, he thinks that he's a hero, upholding morality in society and being the one that doesn't let society go bad and decay and stuff like that. When in reality, he is part of the problem and he is part of the decay. And when he realizes that he cannot live in a world that is not structured the way that he had in mind, and that's why he commits suicide. I guess spoilers, but it's been around a couple of centuries.
Chance, how could you do this to us? Ruining this ancient story.
Yeah. And I find him tragic in the sense that he is one of the villains that genuinely believed that he was a hero. It wasn't sort of a defense mechanism or a way to rationalize his villainy. He genuinely thought that he was doing the right thing, which is tragic because he's misled in a sense.
Well, then we've got, say Finn in The Force Awakens, one of these Star Wars films, who is a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
So he is the villain, but he becomes a hero. Oh,
yeah, well, he starts off having already turned, so I don't know, does he count? Because we start after he had his life, which was a really big letdown. I would have loved to see him be a dedicated stormtrooper who gradually realizes that we are the baddies, and I don't want that anymore. So,
Oh god, that's so shit, isn't it, in that film? Because he just
Yeah.
and then he starts killing his friends, and it's like,
Yeah.
hang on,
And that's another thing. Like,
they're
you
your
are still a
buddies.
villain. It's like,
You're just slaughtering everyone who used to be your buddies, who you grew up with, who you served with,
yeah.
because you've had some weird change
And
in
I
your
would
head.
I would be able to buy that if we saw him being in pain when he does that.
Or abused or something. Maybe he has a reason for it, but no, it's not ever shown. It's just that, hang on, I'm with these guys now. I'm a freaking
Yeah,
traitor.
it's like it's or you know what? The other thing would be that you might end up killing your buddies because you feel disgusted by them for being part of what you hate, and that can't be a thing. So, but I have to see it. I don't see it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
They do a better version of that kind of character in the Mandalorian show.
Mhm.
The ex-Imperial, played by Bill Burr, the comedian.
yes.
He's a great character. And the second time he shows up, I guess, you get a deeper look at that character and how he was an Imperial guy and disillusioned and kind of hates what he was a part of. And
Had a reason for changing his mind.
and he does a little killing of former. I mean, he is more. You can get behind what he does more. Like the person he shoots is a senior officer who's sort of more committed and nasty and not just killing foot soldiers, his buddies, but like one of the leaders.
Well, there is a good thing that it really does become a moment of, oh, hang on, we're the baddies because of what that guy does. And he realizes through his superior officer and the way he treats the men below him and other people, he realizes, oh, we're the bad guys.
Yeah, and you don't see that realization for the Bill Burr character. He was, that occurs off camera. Like this is sort of a pretty fully formed character, but that's in him, and it is revealed. So just as good.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then the whole realization of we're the baddies is very juicy. I mean, story-wise.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're going to have a villain like that and you don't include or you hand wave away the we are the baddies realization, I consider that completely bad writing. Sorry. It's like, what are you doing? You are throwing away the baby and keeping the bath water.
Oh, you mean they make it look like the villainy is not so villainous or something like that? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or that, okay, we're bad. Okay, I'm flipping now, and now I'm the good guy. And
yeah, just kind of not wanting to dig in deeper.
That's what they did with that bloody other character in Star Wars. The guy with the big goofy face that's meant to be the new Darth Vader.
The emo Vader, the Ben
Emo Vader. Ben
Emo
Kenobi, or I don't know, Ben. No, that was the other guy, Obi-Wan. Oh my God, Ben Skywalker. There we are. There's.
I mean, they did it with Han Solo too, and of course Darth Vader's infamous end of his character arc. But Han Solo, you don't see a melodramatic scene where he's like, "Oh my God, I'm materialistic and a smuggler. I've got to, like I'm just out for myself. I'm going to fight for a greater cause." But you see, like one of the all-time great like expressions of that turn when he shows up at the end of the first movie to help destroy the Death Star. Spoiler alert.
It's for him. It's not just a moment of caprice. He doesn't like go, yeah, I'm good now. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got his. What I love about it, and similar to Better Call Saul, we were talking about on the video Patreon podcast.
Yeah, Patreon.
It's not like they take away what makes that character cool, or what makes them. I should say.
Yeah. Another one.
Yeah.
Another one that is a villain and has the where the baddest moment was from the people are going to the square and they're loud. So sorry. The was in Willow, Sorsa, the daughter, of Bavmorda, and she starts off completely like the lancer to the villain, and as she gets captured, and then she starts realizing that okay, maybe we are the baddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She sees for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good when you have an actual realization rather than just an about turn. And now I'm fighting for you guys. Now I'm fighting for them, which doesn't really make that much sense.
And in webcomics, I like that as well, to take it to the comic community. I like for example, take the Second Crimean War by the Toddler, one of my favorite comics and web comics, and in there you have like a super pretty boy guy that is very like patriotic and has a super charisma. People follow him through thick and thin, and he's the villain basically. And he's the villain because he's like 100% racist and wants to do ethnic cleansing.
Oh dear.
That he thinks is for the good of Ukraine, and because this whole thing takes place in an alternate universe, 90s civil war on Ukraine, and he believes that Ukraine should survive only with like pure blood Ukrainians in a sense. So, but he acts very heroic, and he's charming. He's a pretty boy, and he has integrity and stuff. But he is the villain, and I love that. It's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, well.
Nice.
Read that comic.
It is a damn good comic, yes, and it didn't start when this current invasion happened. It's just a coincidence. No. It's not really coincidence, it's because that kind of situation was likely to happen. It's just this comic is prescient.
Yeah.
Or prescient.
Yeah.
Prescient,
this comic has been going on for 10 years or so, so it really started off way before this conflict. So
even the annexation of Crimea.
Yeah, before that as well. So
quite clever. No, it's a very good comic. That's why I featured it.
Yes.
Featured it. It's like the choir eye. I forget these things. It's weird. I could have come across comics that I've almost featured 3 or 4 times because I just forget each time.
Yeah, it's a good one, and it has a great art and a great storytelling vibe to it, which I really appreciate. Yeah, sorry, I'm gushing about the webcomic. I'm sorry. So, that's me.
Now, webcomics are a good thing to come across. Unfortunately, I read so many of the comics on Drunkduck, but unfortunately, I can't really remember many of them, so it's hard to tell you about ones that are what has actually happened in them. So let's see, a villain moment where a villain has thought they're a hero and then have actually owned up. I'm not sure. Maybe Freddie Reno went missing. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a character where it's a comic where the chief character is like a low-level organized crime kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
Who has this weird thing with fish, exotic fish, and winning prizes with his fish, and weird illegal activities and weird illegal behavior in order to make himself win within the weird circles of people who collect exotic fish. And he becomes more and more famous and noted around the world for what he does. And then you see, oh, hang on, his behaviors are very, very questionable and quite illegal. I don't know. That's just one that I'm thinking of. I'm not sure. I don't know. In Pinky TA, I've got this character Cece and Ace, who people think he's set up to be heroic, but then he becomes.
I think
a
Sissy
villain.
fits more because Sissy thinks that she's doing the right thing.
Yeah, she does. She does. Although she hasn't had a "we are the baddies" moment yet. I think because she's too deluded to believe that, or not deluded. It's not a delusion. It's she's too caught up in her own point of view.
Yeah, and she's misled, I think, because when you buy into propaganda, whatever it is very easy to explain away a lot of things. So.
Exactly. You might make it's right, or it's it's not even that. It's like you conform to the ideas of your society and nationalism. And if the state says it's like Nazism. If you're a Nazi, real Nazis, not these fake ones we have now. The real ones thought
we're getting there.
But they thought they were right because that was the belief of the nation. And they were just going by what the nation believed. They weren't, coming to this realization themselves. It was just going with, the state ideas. And the people who, went against that were the real heroes. Because even with that
who were villainized a lot by the state as traitors, degenerates, blah blah blah, what have you. So.
Exactly. And in that kind of situation, we can say that they were baddies and good guys because of what the state was doing. But say when it comes to say the Soviet Union, it seemed clear cut in our propaganda films from the 80s and the 50s and 60s, but it really wasn't. And they weren't really villains because we saw them as villains because our own state religions of capitalism is just diametrically opposed, and the idea is, freedom, we're free, and they're not, so they're the poor people. And
that's another delusion about who is free and who isn't, and if there is any freedom in any pyramidic layout in society, but that's a different discussion.
Well, exactly. Well, the thing is, we had villains on both sides, and we had baddies on both sides, and certain people, did realize that. Like, say, Noam Chomsky was a famous intellectual from the 70s and 80s and 90s who was very much, hang on, perhaps us in the West haven't got the right idea. Perhaps, it's more nuanced. And people would go, oh, no, you're terrible, you're bad.
Yeah. Which is very indicative. Like if people shut down and don't want to discuss the nuance of maybe we're not correct in everything, then that's a red flag in my opinion for that. And that's what I tried to illustrate in Without Moonlight with Arthur, because Arthur truly believed that they were doing the right thing. And he has a whole sequence of, are we the baddies? Oh no, we are the baddies. Oh, what do I do now that I am the baddie? I have done too many things to not be the baddie. Like, I'm basically screwed. So he has this idea starting off that he is righteous, does the right thing. Yes, it can be ugly at times, but it is for the greater good. So, and that gets tested in a sense.
Exactly. So you had a very big "We Are the Baddies" moment with that character.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came together with a bit of deprogramming that Father Yanis does with him, in the sense that he has this realization of something's really wrong in the way that I have been doing things. And then, through the discussion that he has with the priest, which is deprogramming basically, he realizes, oh, I'm screwed. I'm the body. So yeah.
Lance, have you ever done any of these like villainous characters in your own comic?
No. My comic is not really that way. My other comic is more. Maybe we're going to see more villains and that kind of dynamic, but it's still too early in the story for that stuff to have played out.
You have had villainous characters in Typical Strange.
Yeah, but they've been the sort of more the mustache twirling variety, or it's just sort of other main characters in an antagonistic role to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So yeah, not
that,
really. You do remind me of the end of the Burbs, though, which is has that great "We Are the Baddies" speech.
God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was so ironic, though. That was so clever.
And then it ends up being turned on its head. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Hang on. We're the baddies. Hang on. We're the ones who are the monsters. All along, it was us.
Mm-hmm.
Us. Maybe we can put that audio clip here at the end of the episode.
Yeah. And now that you mention it,
for the beginning. Anyway.
Didn't I Legend or something like that? I don't remember the title. Or Legend or something.
I Am
Legend.
Legend.
I Am Legend. Okay. Is the same thing. It's he realizes that he is the monster.
Exactly. I am the one they make legends about. I am the vampire of myth, the monster, the werewolf. And that is ironic and beautiful. Which was, we won't talk about the ridiculous Will Smith thing that misunderstands it.
He didn't have to take it out on anyway.
Yeah.
Clever, Baines, clever. Yes. So that's another very, very classic idea by the famous guy who's the writer of that damn story.
Let's ask.
Baines, do you know?
Was it Asimov?
Richard
Matheson. Richard Matheson.
Matheson.
Oh, Richard Matheson, yeah, one of the greats, man. Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's written quite a few great stories. Very clever, a
lot of them
clever man.
Classic Twilight Zone original episodes were a lot of the best ones were his.
Duel he wrote as well. That was another famous.
Oh, the Spielberg movie.
He wrote the book
Cool.
that it was based on. There we are. The story. Yeah, and it's very clear who the villain is in that.
Well, yeah. Yeah, he was an amazing writer, man. Like such awesome ideas.
Very, very clever man. But yeah, villains who are really heroes. No, heroes who are really villains. So the idea is twisting in my brain. It's hard to keep track of it.
You could do the opposite as well, like villains that are really the heroes. And, but that would be for another cast, I think. What I did want to say is that this kind of trope, this kind of character design, was used a lot for propaganda purposes in movies because you had the villain be super righteous and endorsing some kind of philosophy or stance or whatever that had a lot of correct points or was entirely correct, but he or she is or was a villain. So it was like by association, oh, these are things that villains, that deranged villains think. So a lot of movies,
Right.
like that, especially right around the 90s. You had environmentalist crazy people that wanted to nuke the world, or you had socialists that were extreme and wanted to kill the good industrialists. That sort of thing.
Well, Hunt for Red October is another one like that, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Got Sean Connery as some captain of a nuclear submarine. Goes, the Soviets are actually bad, and I want to defect because we shouldn't have that. God, yeah. So
Yeah.
what
It was a good movie, but it had an agenda.
Very much so, yeah. It's funny, yeah. As you say, propaganda is what the stuff is used for, unfortunately.
and it's not like, for example, or even I put that example from the movie The Rock, where you had this disgruntled military person that felt that his team was used and discarded, and he is the villain. Of course, he has a heel face turn and stuff, spoiler. Yeah. But again, the issue being addressed is a real issue, that people are being used and tossed like commodities.
Yeah, soldiers being tossed aside.
Exactly. Yeah. And I really didn't appreciate the fact that, okay, he was a villain, he did villainous things, yada, 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 but the story should have included these families getting compensation. Like, actually, someone realizing that, okay, this guy was off his rocker, but he had a point, and we shouldn't keep doing this, in a sense. So, I don't know.
When something like that is more subtle, it can be better. I mean, I don't know if it's too subtle for anyone for it to do anything, but
yeah,
I appreciate that movie a lot. It's crazy and frenetic as the action is and everything. It's very good, and the performances are all great. And he was kind of like, I don't know if he was a villain who realized something, or if the truth was just revealed. Like he kind of reveals that he never intended to actually go through with murdering innocent people.
Yeah, I think it is revealed that he basically was bluffing, that he didn't want
to the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, but it still is villainous because you have a bunch of civilians that will probably develop PTSD of some sort in the cells of Alcatraz, and they did kill people. I was
going to say there was collateral damage. Yeah, they did kill people. He hated it, but hey, they are dead because of him and what he was doing.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe he didn't want to do like a genocidal act of revenge, but that doesn't make him good.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
And in the end, spoiler alert, it gets taken away from him by actual mustache twirling villains.
Yes.
Who don't want it to be a bluff. So he And if that works out, if the villains win, they always do in movies like this.
Yeah.
But if the villains do win in The Rock, then it's on that guy. He set the whole thing up.
Yeah.
So
And you know what? If you really did want to make sure that it was a bluff, you shouldn't bring loaded weapons to Alcatraz. You could set it up that everyone believes it is loaded and it was never loaded. If you
Right.
really.
But
Because-
the team doesn't know it's a bluff. His team.
Yeah, but that would also ensure that his team also knew that it was a bluff. That was another thing.
Right. They all shoot and then just a stick with the bang flag.
Exactly.
Paintball or something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just paintballs.
Well, I think we've covered an interesting topic, so we better end when this QUACKCAST is about to cut us off. Google's about to reveal itself as the true villain and cut off the QUACKCAST. So thank you for listening to QUACKCAST number 587.
Thank you.
Yes. Welcome to the wall.
Well.
Sean Connery.
Get off their case already! They didn't do anything to us! They didn't do anything to us! All right, so they're different, so they keep to themselves! Can you blame them? They live next door to people who break into their house and burn it down while they're gone for the day! Remember what you were saying about people in the burbs, Art? People like Skip? People who mow their lawn for the 800th time and then snap! Well, that's us! It's not them! That's us! We're the ones who are vaulting over the fences and peeking in through people's windows! We're the ones who are throwing garbage in the street and lighting fires! We're the ones who are acting suspicious and paranoid! We're the lunatics! Us! It's not them! It's us.